Hello and welcome to the GunLocker, and this is Weihrauch HW77K. So before we get into this review, I just wanted to mention that I do tend to swap my units around, so I will talk metric, I will talk imperial. And the reason why I do that is that I grew up at a time where we were swapping over from imperial to metric, and I was in the construction industry for many years, and I favoured imperial, so feet and inches, and I prefer pounds and ounces. I just seem to visualise those units better than the metric, so apologies. But what I will say is that depending on which unit I use, be it metric or imperial, I will have the equivalent pop up on screen for you, so hopefully, you know, whoever uses the opposite will understand what I'm talking about. So let's talk facts and figures. I'm guessing a lot of what I'm about to say most of you will already have heard about or know, and that's for the simple reason that this rifle's been around a long time. But for those of you that don't know, Weihrauch first launched this rifle back in 1983, and it's still in production today, so that's almost 40 years. The rifle was launched in one of two formats. You've got the HW77, which was a standard rifle, and you've got the HW77K, which is what you can see here in front of you. Just as you know, K in German stands for Kurz, and that means short. So our equivalent would be carbine. Now, Weihrauch launched this with two calibers as standard, the .177 and the .22, but you can get .2 and .25 by special order. And this rifle is a .22, and it's the sub 12 foot-pound UK version. Again, for those of you that don't know, in the UK we have a 12 foot-pound limit for air rifles. Anything over that, and they have to be recorded as firearms, and you have to have a firearms certificate to be able to hold one. And I say that because lots of people think, oh, I'm going to pick up an air rifle and I'll tune it and I'll get the best out of it as I possibly can. It's a dangerous game to play, because it's very easy to tune such a rifle to over the 12 foot-pound mark. Then it becomes a firearm, and if you haven't got a license, you're in trouble. So please be very careful if you start messing about with something like this. I would always recommend that you find an expert and let them tune the rifle for you, and they will keep it within safe limits. And with regards to limits, if I shoot these 16 grain Diablo Field air arm pellets, I can get speeds of 570 feet per second. That equates to 11.5 foot-pounds, so that's right up there. And just for anyone that's interested, the FAC version that comes straight out of Weihrauch's factory can shoot those same pellets at 738 feet per second, or 19.35 foot-pounds. And there's scope for better tuning than that. Again, please be careful, because if you do decide to change your pellets, it can have a bearing on the power output, and it can take you right up to that 12 foot-pound mark. Now, Weihrauch launched this rifle with two types of stock. The Beach is standard, and then you get a special edition forest green laminate. And in this format, this rifle weighs, without the scope, 4.2 kilograms. Now that's 0.2 kilograms heavier than the standard Beach stock, and I can only put that down to the fact that the laminate is a denser, heavier material. And with regards to its overall length, the rifle is 102 centimeters, and it has a barrel length of 37 centimeters. And it's at the barrel that the discrepancy between the HW77K and the HW77 lies. It's because the barrel on the HW77 is 10 centimeters longer, so 47 centimeters. Now this has a twist of 1 in 15 for anyone that knows, but I'll get more into that when we talk about accuracy further on in the review. So straight out of the box, the rifle comes with open sights, and that's for both formats, the 77 and 77K, and they're high quality sights. The rear sight that you can see here, I've taken it off of this rifle, but it has a micrometer adjustment for distance and for windage. Made from metal, not plastic, built to last. And they're easily removable. All you have to do is loosen off this screw to the side and then slide the open sight off the back of the rail. And with regards to that rail, on top of the cylinder we have an 11mm dovetail rail. This rifle, because it's so accurate, warrants a decent scope. I have seen shooters where they've kept the rear sight on and they've managed to accommodate that, having higher mounts for the scope, but mine unfortunately won't do that. And I'd rather have this off the rifle anyway and keep it tucked away nice and safe, keep it clean, because when it comes to the second-hand market, you want to have a complete rifle, and quite often these can get lost or damaged, not looked after properly or mucky, so put them away, keep it safe, keeps the value of the rifle up. Okay, if I go back to the stock, just to let you know, this rifle is truly ambidextrous, and I can say that because it has a cheek swell on both the left and the right side of the butt. Not only that, when you look at the loading port here, it's cut out from the left to the right, not for the right only. And that loading port, if I get my figures right here, it's 2 inches long and it's 1.25 inches wide. So when you come to loading the rifle, and again I'm going to show you more of this later on in the review, but there's plenty of room there for you to load either as a left-hander or as a right-hander. What I will say to you as well, when you're placing the scope, that rail's quite long, and depending on your eye relief you might want to push it forward a little bit. Now this scope does have a sunshade, and I normally use that, and I found that I can actually load the rifle quite comfortably even with the sunshade on it, and that covers the port because I can get in from the side. But for the purpose of the video I've taken that off just to expose the port so you can see it better, and it's something that you might want to think about later on. Now the rifle basically has an automatic safety and an anti-bear trap mechanism that's built in. When you cock the rifle, that anti-bear trap mechanism engages and it prevents the cylinder from shooting forward, whilst you're actually loading the rifle, so it keeps your digits in place. And again, all of this I will refer back to later on in the video, so I'm just trying to keep it quite factual at the moment. The rifle also comes with the now world famous record 2-stage match trigger. That again will be covered a little bit further on. But it's a common misconception that this trigger is only adjustable for pull pressure. It's not. It has more adjustment than most people know, but the reason why they don't know about it is because it's hidden within the trigger mechanism, and that's only exposed when you take the stock off. And with regards to the adjustment, you can see behind the trigger here there is an adjustable screw, and that's the one that actually allows you to adjust for pull pressure. So as we look at the rifle, basically you'll see that it comes with factory fitted studs, and on both studs you've got swivels to take a shoulder strap. Now a really nice touch is that Weihrauch have put some padding between the clamp and the underlever, and that serves two purposes. One of those purposes is to prevent slippage because metal on metal can slip and rub, and the second is to actually protect the underlever. So I think with regards to facts and figures, I've just about got this covered, and time to go to the actual ratings. Let's see how it performs. So, accuracy. Well, out onto the range at 30 metres, weather's not great. Let's see how we do. Hi guys, so I'm out here, managed to find a gap in the weather. It's been shocking these last few days, to be honest, and it's not ideal now. I've got a swirling wind, it's buffeting the pellets around a bit, but I'm going to give it a go. There is going to be quite a bit of human error on this one, unfortunately, and I don't like locking my rifle into a bench rest, just don't think it's right. But at the end of the day, when you go out in the field, you don't get perfect conditions. So if I can get anywhere near, I'll be happy. What I've done is I've set up a paper target on the left side, and I've got some spinners on the right. The paper target has 5 small targets within it, and I don't use bullseyes as such. I use red crosses as a centre point to focus on. I'm going to go around each one of those 5 on the A4 piece of paper, and then I'm going to use the spinners, and that'll be it. See how we do. So again, when you're loading the rifle, just make sure that you're holding the lever, prevent any mishaps. So this one's going to be bottom left. And just off of the red cross at about 5 o'clock, and that's on the bottom left hand target. So now I'm going to move to the bottom right hand target. So again, just off the cross, but this time at 9 o'clock. Top right hand target. That's on the cross. Top left hand target. Ooh, right elevation, but that's at 9 o'clock. I'm about ½ inch out on that one. So I'm going to go on the centre target now. That's at 3 o'clock, about ½ inch out from the cross. Right, spinners. I'm going to go from left to right. There's one. There's 2. I've got to say I prefer targets with a little bit of motion to them. Wow. I don't often do that. There you go, there's human error for you. Let's try again. There we go. fourth one, and now I'm going to release them using the top target. And there we go. So a little bit annoying because I missed one, but for these conditions, with me rushing about, I don't think I've done too bad. Just a shame that this rifle deserves better than me. Do I think it's accurate? Yes, I do. Did I miss because of the rifle? No, I missed because of human error. So yeah. And what star rating will I give it? It's got to be 4 out of 5, because on a normal still day, without all this buffeting wind, without me running about, it would definitely be, well, it's more accurate than I can shoot. Simple as that. Okay guys, thank you very much. Well, there you go, back inside. The weather conditions weren't great. We did have quite a bit of blustery wind. I'm not sure whether the camera picked that up, and I was getting buffeted. I don't like to use a bench rest because I don't use a bench rest when I go out in the field. So this is as near a real environment as I can possibly make it. I think the rifle performed very well. You know, if you're thinking about all the different variables, the temperature is not the best. It is quite cool out there. We've got these gusts of winds that are coming in that are quite difficult to predict. Did I do the rifle justice? Personally, I don't think I did. And I felt myself, you know, the pressure of trying to perform for the camera. So yeah, I've still got a long way to go with that, I admit. And also the targets that I use, they're not your standard targets that most people do. I use this. I'm hoping that the camera will pick up on that. And these are basically just red crosses in the center of a target. And the reason why I do that is because it helps me to kind of focus. I sometimes, if I'm just looking at a bullseye, I tend not to focus right on the center of it, and I can get distracted by the group. So that's why I like to spread my shot out as well. If I go for each individual target on that piece of paper, then I get a better feel for how I'm performing. Just out of interest, and we talked about power in facts and figures, but I don't know if you can see this, and I'm going to try and pick that up. Hopefully the camera will zoom in on that, but if not, I'm hoping that it'll pick up on that. That's a pellet that's hit one of the metal spinners, and that's what happens to them even at sub 12 foot-pound. So you have plenty of stopping power there. Just thought you might like to know. And going back to the rating, 4 out of 5 stars. I think so. I think that's a fair rating. Who knows, I might revisit this on a calm day when it's not so windy, or I might do it on an indoor range, but the ranges near me are quite limited. They're quite short, and I like to go out anyway. There we go. So aesthetics is a strange category in that it is purely based on personal opinion. But I guess it's not going to come as any surprise to anyone when I say that I've rated this 4 out of 5 stars. I've done that because, as you know, I am biased towards this rifle. It was the first rifle that I bought back in the early 80s, and I bought it then because it looked the part. Its main competition were break barrels with a single barrel. This looks as if it's got 2 barrels. It looks chunky. The quality of the materials are so good that it looks as if it's built to last. And it has the traditional sporting rifle look, which is what I like. Don't get me wrong, I do like some military style rifles, but for a different reason. And in this particular variant with the special edition forest green laminate, it kind of draws me to it. I want to take it out into the field. I want to shoot with it. I like the natural camouflage look. And yes, there's no blues or reds or garish yellows, which I know a lot of people like, especially target shooters. Not really for me. I prefer a more subdued look. But again, you know, let's look at the stock, for example, and I'm talking about the quality of the material here. As you can see, there are loads of layers to this laminate. I mean, I've counted over 50, and each layer is roughly 1 millimeter thick, and each layer has been individually stained. It looks beautiful. It looks quality. Well done, Weihrauch, well done. The rifle also has some nice checkering to the pistol grip and also to the forend. It's laser cut, it's very precise, it's very clean, nice sharp lines, but it doesn't have any fancy scrolls, you know, it's not overworked, and I like that. I like the fact that Weihrauch is proud of it and it's quite happy to put its logo, you know, on the side. Nice touch. And generally speaking, I like the look, I like the lines of the rifle. It's elegant, it's almost utilitarian, it's efficient. It looks as if it's been built in Germany, and we all know that German production is of high quality. So again, it adds to the overall impression of the rifle. So in my mind, and that of my teammates, I'll add, we've rated this 4 out of 5 stars, and it's well deserved. Yeah. There aren't many rifles in existence today that are still in production 40 years after they were first launched, and as I said before, this was launched back in 1983, still going strong today. And that's testimony to Weihrauch's use of high quality materials, and I've touched on that in my previous section. I guess the reassuring thing about this is that if you were to buy it now, you can look forward to using it in 30 or 40 years time, provided it's well maintained, it's cleaned after each and every use, as any rifle should be. There's not a lot that's going to go wrong with it. I've heard stories about this, you know, the occasional problems with springs, but they're relatively easy to replace. And you know, it is a tunable rifle, which means that people may be tempted to get better performance out of it. Obviously, if you do that, that's your choice. Obviously, stay within the law. But with regards to the rifle as a whole, the metalwork, the bluing on the metalwork is of high quality. There's no plastics. There's nothing that will degrade quickly. The build quality of the trigger, well, that's well famous. And the build quality of the laminate, well, I've already mentioned that in the part on aesthetics. Overall, for this price point, and I mentioned this in my previous video, I paid £375 for this rifle. Not new, admittedly, but I bought it a few weeks back, second hand, and without the scope, with the original rear sight. I bought it for £375, and it is spotless, it is mint. Now, this rifle was produced in 2018, So it's already 4 years of age. And when you take a closer look at it, and I'm hoping the autofocus isn't going to lose sight of this, it is absolutely spotless, and that comes down to the quality of the materials. And it's not just being held in a cupboard, it's being shot, and it works perfectly. So with regards to German engineering, in particular Weihrauch engineering, they have done an amazing job. The new price for this rifle is around about £480, depends where you go, and that's within the UK. And in my mind, for the quality of the materials that you're getting for that price bracket, wow, it's stunning. It's stunning. There are many budget PCPs on the market today that are more expensive by several £100s, and they're nowhere near the same build quality. Absolutely not. So with regards to ratings, I've given this 5 out of 5 stars. Again, my personal opinion, you may disagree. You may have a rifle that was produced on a Friday afternoon, say, and it might have had faults. Whether that actually happens in a German factory such as Weihrauch's, I very much doubt, but you know, things do happen. But so far I've shot this, it performs very, very well. It does exactly what I expect it to do. The trigger is crisp, you know exactly when it's going to fire, and the stock is so dense that it can take some rough and tumble and not mark. For a natural material, that's brilliant. Yeah, I've rated this 5 out of 5 stars, and I think that's apt, especially for the price point. Well done, Weihrauch. So now to the first shock of the review. I've rated this 3 out of 5 stars for ergonomics. Now that might sound like a contradiction, especially with the way that I rave about this rifle and what I've said about its build quality and its aesthetics. But ergonomics, in my mind, is the design of a product to suit the end user. And what Weihrauch have done here is they've designed a product to suit a particular function, and that function is to hit the target. Ergonomics, and again, I think this is a word that's been misused in some of the reviews that you see around rifles nowadays. Everybody likes to use the term, it's a long word, it's fancy. But ergonomics has a specific meaning, and again, I'll reiterate, it's the design of a product to suit the end user. And what that means is that it takes into account fit, efficiency of use, if it's adaptable in any way. And the one thing about this rifle, like I've said to you already, is it's quite utilitarian. So it's designed to perform a function, and it does that extremely well. So going back to ergonomics, yes, you can change the stock on this rifle. Yes, you can buy custom stocks, and those custom stocks are probably going to cost 3 or 4 times the price of the actual rifle itself. And those custom stocks will allow you to adjust the butt pad. It will probably provide you with a hook to go under the shoulder to make it more stable. It will provide you with more support and adjustment on the fore end. But in its current format, there are no bells and whistles. This is German engineering at its finest, designed for a function. So by that, there are no Picatinny rails on it. You don't have any sort of adjustment in the fore end. There's definitely no adjustment in the butt pad. It's solid, so there's no movement up and down. But Weihrauch have included this beautiful cheek swell, and it's also got a raised cone that gives you perfect eye alignment. My cheek sits beautifully in a position where I can easily view this scope, and yeah, it doesn't need to be adjusted any further. I don't need to have a comb that has to be raised, and I don't need to have a butt pad that needs to be lowered in order to get my eye alignment in the right place. But does it give me that adjustability where I can pull the butt pad out slightly to give me a slightly longer reach? Does the fore end allow me to attach bipods or lights on there, rangefinders? No, it doesn't. In this format, it doesn't. And the underlever as well, in its design, yes, it's fantastic, but if you look at the fore end, there's a deep slot, a long slot that basically prevents you from fitting a bipod to it. And yeah, you can of course fit the bipod on the front stud, but the idea of fitting it to the underlever, I personally don't like that. I'd much rather shoot off of a rest, a bag, a shooting stick, something like that, or even just leaning it up against a fence. I'm happy to do that. So with regards to ergonomics, you hear this word bandied about quite a lot, and people say it's got fantastic ergonomics. Actually, when you break it down to the true definition of the word, the ergonomics for those particular rifles is actually quite limited, as it is here. Now, I could be talking absolute rubbish, and you're more than welcome to put your comments. I would look forward to reading them. So in my mind, the shocker, I'm rating this rifle 3 out of 5 stars. Not because I want to, because for design for a particular purpose, it would definitely be 5 out of 5 stars. Yeah. So here's another shocker. For handling, I've rated this rifle 3 out of 5 stars. And again, it kind of goes against everything that I've just talked about. And you're probably wondering, why on earth have I done that? It comes down to the fact that the rifle is 4.2 kilos in weight without the scope. So that's £9 4 ounces. It's heavy. For me, personally, I like the weight. And if it was just about me using this rifle, hands down, the pointability, I love it. 4, 4.5, even 5 stars. Be happy to do that. But I have to look at its price point, and I've got to take into account the fact that, as I said, I bought this for £375. New, you can buy it for £480, and that's a price that will attract, newbies into the scene. It will attract parents that may want to shoot with their kids and enter the sport as a family hobby. And the problem that you have there is minors or lesser built females, I'm being very careful how I word that because I don't want to offend anybody, but you know, they're not the 14.5 stone that I am. I'm from a construction industry background and I'm used to carrying weight, so you know, 4.2 kilos is nothing for me. But it is a lot for a miner, it is a lot for a lady to carry around, and that was made particularly evident to me when I watched Jasmine shoot this rifle, and she's a petite female, she's only 5'1", and she's strong, don't get me wrong, she is strong, but she's not like me. And I watched her shoot this rifle, and it became really evident very quickly that after a few shots, and again that comes down to cocking the rifle, it's quite, you know, it does take some effort to cock the rifle, but the weight played a part and it became tiring for her to shoot. So I thought to myself, well, you know, can I rate this 4.5 out of 5 stars? And truthfully, I can't. As much as I'd like to, I can't, because I do know that its weight will have an impact on other individuals, and after a short period of time they may want to stop shooting, and that is a shame. That's a downfall with regards to this rifle. And budget PCPs out there that might be a bit more expensive are generally a lot lighter, and some of these PCPs on the market are as much as, you know, 2/3 lighter than this rifle. I have to take that into account. Now on the positive side, the weight, you know, it makes it stable. When I shoulder this rifle and I aim at the target, it feels planted, and that weight also helps to deaden the recoil. So unfortunately it's like a balancing act. On a rifle of this sort, you need the weight to stabilize it, but unfortunately that makes it kind of not difficult but tiring to shoot for smaller, lighter people. So yeah, unfortunately, and it, you know, it's hard for me to say this, but unfortunately I'm having to rate this rifle 3 out of 5 stars. So, loading. Well, first off, you'll note that the sunshade is back on the scope, and the reason why that's there, twofold. One, I've just been out shooting with it, and yeah, I just thought, you know, why not? I've got a break in the weather, a little bit of sunshine, go out and have some fun. And the second reason is to actually show you guys that it is possible to load the rifle, you know, when you're covering the port. And the reason for that is because the port is so wide. So I don't know if you can see that, there is a gap there. Okay, and what I'll do is I'll show you now how I load the rifle. So we've got the pellets. Now there's a button on the end here. We press the button, that releases the underlever. We cock the rifle. Now it's always a good idea to hold on to the lever. It is a mechanical anti-bear trap within the housing, but like anything that's mechanical, it could fail. I'm not saying that it will, but it could. So hold on to the underlever and then make sure that this loading port doesn't actually slam shut on your fingers whilst you're loading. Now there is a gap there. I don't know if you can see this gap, but there is enough in order to be able to feed a pellet, and a little bit of a knack in. That's it, it's in. Okay, and I managed to do that with the sunshade on, and it's loaded. Alright, it's in safe, so I can do that again. And what I'll do is I'll just remove this sunshade. Bear with me, it's quite quite a long thread. We're getting there. There we go. And now you can see how that loading port is fully exposed. And again, it's there. So with regards to loading the rifle, it's a fairly easy operation. But this may or may not come as a surprise. And I'm not going to keep that there for long because I need to discharge this rifle. But I have actually rated this HW77K as 3 out of 5 stars for loading. And the reason why I've done that is because firstly, you have to cock the rifle each and every time you shoot it. And there is a moderate pull weight on that. Now I say moderate, I find it okay. It's not hard to do. But again, I referred to Jasmine, you know, watching her shoot this rifle, and she struggles with it. One, she's 5'1", so she hasn't got long arms. Now for me, you know, to reach this button at the end, I can do that quite easily, but I've got quite a long reach. She kind of struggles, you know, to reach this button, and then the effort of actually pulling the lever down and cocking the rifle for her is quite hard. Secondly, it's single shot, and you know, you have to cock this each and every time you take the shot. So you're losing a speed element, you're losing the fact that you have to, you know, you've got to come off of the target and then go back onto it again. Practice, it's not really an issue, and you build in with experience the ability to, you know, point the rifle, aim, take the shot, hit the target. And I had a little bit of fun with Jasmine. She was using her I've got to be careful how I put this, her custom made PCP. Yeah, I'm sworn to secrecy on that one, so who knows, one day we might be allowed to show you that rifle, but that's her baby, and that's got a 17 shot mag in it. And we were popping away at some spinners, and the idea being was that she was to hit all 4 spinners onto the support rail before I could knock it down. Now she's got the PCP, mag fed, click, 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 click. You know, I had a single shot. And I could take my time, I wasn't rushed. So for her to take those 4 shots, to be accurate with them, to hit those targets, you know, I had enough time to take the 1 shot and hit each and every time. So speed isn't everything, but I do understand the importance of not wanting to come off the target because you might lose sight of it. And for the fact that there is more effort involved in loading this rifle compared to the PCPs, I would have to say it's going to be 3 out of 5 stars. Again, it's something that I'm not particularly happy doing, but looking at the air rifle scene as a whole, it's going to have to be along those lines. Okay, let's talk about safety. Well, I guess what I'm going to say here is because of its fairly simplistic design, I'm going to rate this rifle 4 out of 5 stars. I think with anything there's always room for improvement, so to get 5 out of 5 stars is nigh on impossible. But yeah, 4 out of 5 stars. And the reason why I say that is because the gun, I previously mentioned this, but it has an inbuilt automatic safety, so when you cock the rifle the safety clicks on, and you can easily disengage that by pressing the button at the back. And it also has the anti-bear trap mechanism built within it, so that when you cock the rifle, the loading port opens up, you can feed your pellets in, and that's not going to slam shut on your fingers as you're loading. So with regards to the safety element, there's not that much to discuss really, and there's not that much to go wrong with it. And unlike the PCPs, we're not using bottles of compressed air, and we're not trying to fill it where there's always an element of risk. You know, if you attach the whip on a PCP and you use the incorrect sequence when you're actually loading that, you know, recharging those bottles, there is an element of risk of injury, and you don't get that with this. You do have the fact that you have to cock the rifle each and every shot, and you could possibly have mechanical failure, but as yet I've not heard of anyone where, or any incident where this loading port has slammed shut. Now there might be somebody that knows of an instance like that, and I'll be happy to hear about it, and you know, that might alter my opinion of this rifle, but as yet, no, I've not come across that. So yeah, short and sweet, 4 out of 5 stars. I think that the gun's been around long enough now. It's time served, 40 years in production, no major instances as I know or am aware of, and I would have thought that by now, if there were any issues like that, Weihrauch would have ironed them out long ago. So yeah, 4 out of 5 stars. So, shot count. And again, here comes another 3 out of 5 stars, even though I hate to say it. And the reason being is that this is a single shot rifle. So you have to cock the rifle each and every time you shoot it. And it doesn't have a magazine. And it seems now, wherever, you know, whichever kind of review you look at or whoever you speak to in the airgun scene, they talk about shot count. With the PCPs, it's how many shots you can get per fill, or it's how big the magazine is and how many pellets you can get into that magazine. This is very simple. You know, you cock the rifle, you load the rifle, you shoot the rifle. Now, in one sense, what that means is that you don't have to have the diver's tank with a whole load of reserve air, or the compressor if you're not going to use a diver's tank, or a pump if you haven't got any of those. And you're not limited by 70, 100, 200 or more shots that that cylinder, that air bottle, can take. Now, I referred to Jasmine's custom built PCP, and that's an absolute beast of a rifle in that it actually has a capacity of just short of 400 shots in .177. It's an incredible bit of kit, and yeah, for her it's fantastic. You know, we fill up the cylinders, and she can shoot all day happily, you know, not worry about it. With me, I would hate to even think of the effort that was required to cock this 400 times to match it. But like I say, I'm not restricted in normal circumstances. If I go out and about, I cock the rifle, I aim at the target, I shoot the target, and I'm done. Do I want more than that? Personally, no. Does everybody else? Probably yes. It's all about numbers, it's all about speed, the size of the, you know, the capacity of the tanks, the air tanks, I mean, cylinders, whatever you want to call them, the bottles. You know, it seems that more is better. Not for me necessarily, but you know, for a lot of people it is. And in that regard, unfortunately, this old girl, the 77K, can't really compete, so it has to be 3 out of 5 stars. Okay, so let's talk about this world famous trigger. This is no surprise, I've given it 4 out of 5 stars. It's been around a long time. It's the record 2-stage match trigger that Weihrauch uses in a large proportion of its rifles, and I think it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. There's a common misconception that the trigger is only adjustable for pull pressure, because most people see this adjustable screw at the back of the blade and think that's all that they've got. There is more adjustment, but it means taking the stock off the rifle to expose the trigger unit to be able to do that. And the trigger is adjustable for first stage travel, for first and second stage pressure, and also for second stage movement, which is known as creep. But with any of these adjustments, what I would say and heartily recommend is that if you do want to fine-tune that trigger, seek the advice of an expert, because if you fine-tune it too far, the trigger can become unpredictable, and when it's unpredictable, it's not safe. Straight out of the box, I've not had to adjust this. I'm perfectly happy with the way it performs. I like the first stage travel, and I like the fact that when it comes to the second stage, there's enough pressure there required to allow me to think about my shot. I don't just come to that second stage and bang, it's gone, because there's not enough pressure, you know, required to pull the trigger for it to engage. I like to be able to come to that second stage and make that decision. Am I ready to take the shot? Yeah. Off it goes. Or do I want to come off the trigger? Yeah. So for me, you can fine tune stuff too much. And with regards to this particular trigger, as I say, I've not had to tune it at all. I am happy with it straight out of the box. And what I also like about the trigger is the fact that the blade has very fine grooves cut down its length, and they're so fine that they can pick up your fingerprint. And that's nice because you have a sensitivity there. You can come attuned to the rifle. You know, when you take aim and your finger is on that trigger blade, you know exactly what's going on, and there's no fear of it slipping, none whatsoever. So whether you're shooting with or without gloves, you feel as if you're connected to the rifle, and that's important. So yeah, love the trigger. Personally, and I've shot loads of rifles a lot more expensive than this, and I've not liked their triggers. So again, well done to Weihrauch, and fantastic trigger, and worth the 4 out of 5 stars I've given it. Absolutely, 100%. Yeah. So, value for money. I'm really pleased to be able to say that I can give this 5 out of 5 stars. And I'm pleased because in front of me I have a rifle that is going to last me my lifetime, and I paid £375 for the privilege. I'm not I mean, pounds are hard to find these days, we know that, you know, and £375 is a lot of money, but in the airgun scene it's at the bottom end. And yes, I bought this second hand, but when I saw it I knew there and then that I wasn't going to barter, I wasn't going to try and knock the guy down, because in my mind it was worth every penny. And even at its recommended retail price of £480 to £485, would I still buy it? Absolutely, 100%. And don't forget that when you buy this rifle, straight out of the box, it comes with open sights. So all you need is a tin of pellets and away you go. You can have fun. You can enjoy it. You don't need a scope. You can start to shoot, to master the art of shooting, and you can learn what a lot of people don't. You can learn how to shoot with open sights. It's a particular skill, and it's well worth doing it because it teaches you all sorts of disciplines, including how to hold your breath, how to stay steady, how to think about your shot. It's just, for the price point, it's just phenomenal, especially when you think about the materials that have been used, the engineering that's gone into this, the build quality as a whole. It's, you know, it's worth every penny. So yeah, well done to Weihrauch. Thank you for allowing me to buy a gun that's gonna stay with me for the rest of my life. And I will definitely not be selling this rifle, because I made a mistake of selling a HW77K many years ago in order to fund a 2.2 rimfire. I won't be doing that again. Shooting this has actually reinvigorated my joy of shooting air rifles, something that I lost actually with the use of PCPs, because there is more to shooting a Springer than a PCP. It's more engaging in my mind, and yeah, definitely worth 5 out of 5 stars. There's not a lot more I can say really. Just if you get your hands on one of these, I don't think you'll regret it. I really don't. So here we have it, an overall score of 38 out of 50, or 3.8 stars out of 5 stars. And I'm guessing that some of the viewers of my previous video will be surprised at that, because they jumped to the conclusion, well, at least it appeared that they jumped to the conclusion that this rifle would be scored 5 out of 5 stars across the board. And it hasn't been. It was always the intention to set the bar using the HW77K, and I think that I've done that. It was never ever my intention of scoring it 5 out of 5 stars across the board. What this rifle has done has given me a set of standards to which I can compare other rifles, and I think it's done that very, very well. When I look back at all the different categories, and it's been actually quite a journey for me to think about this rifle from the perspective of other users, not just myself, I've surprised myself in rating it so low in some of the categories and quite highly in others. It's been quite interesting. Have I given it an honest, in-depth review? I believe I have. Have I been unbiased towards the rifle? For the most part, yes, but obviously there is some bias there because, as I've said before, you know, I have a fondness for the HW77K. Is it the right rifle to use to set the bar? Well, the fact that it's been in production such a long time, and the fact that it's such a popular rifle today, and it's at a price point that, to be fair, most people can afford, those that are definitely entering the airgun scene for sure. Yeah, I think it's the perfect rifle to set the bar. So yeah, I'm quite looking forward to these upcoming reviews and to see how the other rifles compare against the HW77K. And as I said before, I might upset some people in the future, but hey, you know, this is all about giving an honest, in-depth review, and I believe I've done that. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe and to share and to like, because that's going to help me out no end. It's going to help the channel out no end. And don't forget, if you've got any rifles to sell or you're looking to buy, then pop over to theGunLocker. You'll find it online, and you'll see that we have rifles, air pistols, you know, firearms, shotguns being added on a daily basis. So yeah, thanks for your support.